Welcome to the Mama Podcast. Please join us in speaking to Gemma Mcfall, a pain specialist on a mission to end stress, anxiety and chronic pain. Stay tuned for her top tips on how to retrain your brain to break free on what can feel like a never-ending pain cycle. Hi Gemma, welcome to the podcast.
Hi ladies, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So, Gemma, tell us about you, because I think you're in Dubai, aren't you?
Yes, I have been living in Dubai for the last 3 years now. Actually, this is my third year. So I'm here with my two kids, 7 and 9, and my husband. So yeah, it's great when it's not too hot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I imagine it must get really hot. What's the weather like at the moment?
Hot, hot and getting hotter, it seems. I reckon 2 or 3 more weekends and it'll be manageable. But yeah, it's not good at the minute.
So tell us,
Heidi, you carry on. I was just gonna dive in and say, if you're really British, you can give it a good go outside in Dubai at the moment. It's 36 degrees, but it's quite easy to baste out there.
Yeah. You know, when I go back to the UK, even a UK summer, I think is cold. I sit there with a coat on and freezing. I'm just so used to now living in this hot desert. But yeah. You wanted me to say what do I do? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Tell us about what you do.
So I am a pain relief coach, and I help people with chronic pain to recover without medication or surgery. Basically by teaching them about the latest science and research to do with pain, and helping them to get out of the pain fear cycle, which it's so easy to get into. Yeah, with surprisingly quick and good results. You know, it's a whole new way of looking at pain. So it's an exciting field.
And how did you? So that's very interesting. But I mean, how on earth did you even get into that field?
Oh, well, yeah. So I got into this field because I lived with back pain for 10 years, and I went down the traditional medical route, medication, physio, osteopaths, chiropractors, up until the point of having injections in my spine just to get enough relief from the pain. And when my kids were tiny, I couldn't even lift them from the floor to a high chair. The pain was excruciating. So after sort of exhausting every single thing apart from surgery, I was literally on the waiting list for surgery. And then someone got me onto neuroplastic pain, which is what I discovered that I have, and which a lot of people have. Neuroplastic pain basically means the brain is misfiring signals into your body, creating pain long after the actual thing is healed. So yeah, and then within the space of 2 or 3 months, I was having days with no pain at all. And then shortly after, I was back to doing everything I've always done. So I think realizing how easy it is, relatively easy it is with the right education, that was the turning point for me to pivot my career and throw myself into this new field, which has been so rewarding. I can't tell you, just to see people, especially mums, just seeing mums get back to being mums without that kind of heavy, it's exhausting having any kind of chronic pain. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, it's really hard for mums, because obviously we're juggling so many different things and we've got so many things going on in our heads. I feel like I've got like 20 tabs open all the time. So what were the effective strategies that you put in place then to try and get over this back pain?
Well, the first thing was really understanding the science behind pain. And pain is a signal that's trying to tell us something. So you put your hand on a hot stove and the pain tells you, I must lift my hand off right now. But what happens with chronic pain is the body should heal naturally. Most things should heal within 3 months. But if it goes on longer than 3 months, what's effectively happening is the pain signal is still firing, telling you this should be painful. So for some people, it's like sitting should be painful, or for some people, standing should be painful. And there's many different symptoms with chronic pain, but ultimately it comes down to the body or the brain, let's say, thinking that there is something wrong with you. And then we very quickly get into the pain fear cycle. So the very first thing was understanding the science. And then the second thing, and the most important thing, was not being scared of the pain. And the minute you can get rid of that fear around the pain and just allow it to be a sensation that's there and you're not scared of it, then that's when you're back in control. And you can start to move through it. And then I think alongside that is recognizing the reason I was in that state in the first place is because my nervous system was really, really in overdrive. Like, it was working. It was telling me I should be scared. I should be scared. But my nervous system was what we call dysregulated. And I needed to get back down to a state of calm. You know, it's only when you can calm your nervous system that your body will heal itself. So yeah, that's a very high level description of what I did, but yeah.
How do you, I guess, you know, Heidi and I were reflecting before this conversation where we both had instances of pain, and you helped me personally, Gemma, through mine, where I was ready to have an operation on my foot, which was due to an issue on, came up on the MRI. So I was sold on it. But actually, after practicing some of the techniques that you taught me, I was able to overcome it. And now it feels like it's completely fine. But when you're in that state of, which was amazing, so thank you again. But when you're in that state of, I've forgotten the words you used, but where you're kind of dysregulated, how do you know that you're in that state? Like, how do you become aware? Because I found whenever I'm incredibly stressed, it feels like the world's like coming in and I see no way out. You just don't see clearly. And, I think that would be really relevant for our listeners, particularly with crazy families or the pregnant or, across the board.
And, I really like this question because there's not a straightforward answer. If you'd have said to me, are you stressed at the height of, like, I had the worst back pain ever. I had 2 kids and I was leaving the house in the morning to go and do a full-time job and then come home and try and be super mum in the evening and then super wife after that. Like, if you'd have said to me, are you stressed? I would have said no. At no point did I kind of think that I was stressed at all. Like, because I was juggling so many things. I couldn't afford to drop a single ball. And so what was happening is my body was stressed and it was showing the signs with back pain. Now, for some people, it would be migraine, pelvic pain, fibromyalgia. Like, there's so many different ways that the body can react. Hair loss, skin, itchy skin. The list is almost endless, right? And everyone has a different thing, but it's actually easier for people to feel physical pain than emotional pain in many cases. So this is why it was an interesting question. Like, what does it feel like? For me, it felt like back pain. But I do know for other people, it might feel like anxiety, like heart palpitations, just really, really on edge. I think looking back, the indicators for me, other than the back pain, I was very snappy with the kids. They would do something, they're great kids, but they would do something and I'd find myself going, all the time. Like, and then there was always this like little voice in my head going, why me? Why do I have to feed them? Why do I have to do the washing up? Why? Like, almost like I was a victim, but I never voiced it. It was just like going round and round in my head, like I have to do everything. And I just did do everything. But I kind of was suppressing it the whole time. Does that make sense? Do you resonate with that? It's like, it's hard being a mum.
Yeah.
Like, really, really hard. But if I look back on how I was then versus how I am now, I'm a lot more allowing now. Like, I just kind of go with the flow. I'm a lot more, take it easy. I'm more of a take it easy type person.
I think for me and Heidi, I'd be interested in your reflection as well. When I had the issue with my foot, it was actually quite a long time after I had been really stressed. So it was like I was actually getting into, like, I mean, that I've completely changed the way that I operate and what I do as a career because of, you know, I just sort of had a realization that I wanted to do something completely different. And with that became a lot less stress because I'd gone from like a big corporate job. But I found the pain actually came like sometime afterwards, like a year after. So when we were talking, I was like, well, I'm not stressed, but I had been through some like really big things.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd say that's probably the same for me. And that's why it's so hard to pinpoint it sometimes, like to an actual event or something that's happened, if it comes out, like you say, months later. But that's definitely something to be aware of, that can happen. The symptoms obviously come out, you know, later, because I think sometimes when we then relax, because we've removed ourselves from that stressful situation, that's when the body suddenly goes, oh, I've been through something quite traumatic actually. And then it comes out a lot later, doesn't it? And so I just find this so interesting, especially for mums, because we're so busy juggling so many different things. We don't really take the time to try and figure out what is actually going on. I'm just also thinking, Gemma, about, you know, the healthcare professionals as well. Obviously, you know, when they're talking to their patients about chronic pain, are there any sort of tools or practices that could support them in learning more about this?
Yeah, I think the key is a doctor, let's say, has got 10 minutes maximum with a patient, right? And the question that they need to be asking, instead of like, tell me about the pain, you know, let's have a look at this MRI, I think the question is, how are you? Like, how are you really? What's going on for you? You know? But unfortunately, it's 10 minutes long enough to open that subject with someone, you know? And so many times the subject's not opened, but a lot of the answers would lie in that question, you know? Really having the patient feel like they've been properly seen and heard. And also when it comes to chronic pain, doctors, like I mentioned at the beginning, like if it's due to a dysregulated nervous system in the brain, like it's literally the brain misfiring signals. So if you're going to see a skin specialist about your skin or a back specialist about your back or foot, like Marissa, those doctors aren't trained on the brain. So no matter what they do, they're not going to find the root cause of the issue. So I think it's just having an awareness that there is something other than physical that could be going on. It's interesting that you asked that question right now, because there's a book I recommend to absolutely everybody. It's called The Way Out by Alan Gordon. It's amazing. It's so easy to read, and it talks in a very almost like humorous way about chronic pain. And I love his style and simplicity of this subject. And so I'm right in the middle of doing his practitioner training right now. It's every Sunday evening. So I was literally doing it the other night. And that course is made up of coaches like me, but also a lot of doctors are on there. And so the other day I was partnered with a doctor. We're in a big Zoom room, and I was partnered out with this doctor, and it was so cool to be with a doctor that was open enough to be like, this makes sense, I get it. And you could see the relief on her face that she doesn't have to find all the answers using MRI scans, because the answers are not in those scans. She's been looking in the wrong place. And so I'm hoping more and more doctors will start to look at the latest research and science and do that. But the answer is always, the clients have the answer, or the patients, you know, what is going on emotionally right now? Or like Marissa said, like it was like, what's been going on in the last year? You know, what was the question to ask would be, well, when this started, what was going on? And the answer will be like, oh, it was when my mother passed away, or it was 3 weeks after this happened, or 2 weeks after that happened. Like everyone has different things that happen, redundancy, or a husband being made redundant, you know, all of these things, it can cause chronic pain, quite simply. So yeah.
If you're going through something currently,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, you know, a lot of women can have fear of giving birth, or they're very anxious during their pregnancy. They may have had a previous loss, or they might just be very sort of fearful and anxious anyway going through a pregnancy. What sort of techniques could they do to get through those 9 months?
Sure. Also a very interesting question, because if I reflect on my 2 pregnancies, I had back pain for 10 years, but during 2 pregnancies, I had 0 back pain. For 9 months, I had no back pain. And then the minute my son was born, the back pain came again. And then when the next one I was pregnant, no back pain whatsoever. And about two weeks after she was born, I couldn't get out of bed. I was in that much pain. So everybody is different. But I just wanted to share that. But going back to the fear question, it's about recognizing the fear, labeling it and admitting, you know what, I'm really scared about X, and then doing grounding techniques. So for example, asking yourself right now, am I safe right now? You know, find evidence to prove that you're safe right now. You know, I am sitting in a house that is safe. I have a family that is safe. I'm holding a teddy bear that's soft. Like, things that are true right now. Anything that's true will pull you into the present, because fear is always about something that hasn't even happened yet, you know, and the fear of something is always worse than the actual event itself, because our brains are so smart that we catastrophize things, and then it becomes quite addictive. The more we worry, the more we need to worry, and it's almost like we think, well, if we worry, then it's somehow going to protect me from getting hurt, if that makes sense. But it's just a lot of wasted energy, the fear. So I would say acknowledge the fear, grounding techniques like breathing. I know everyone says breathing, but like really breathe in and then breathe out longer than the breath in, at least 5 or 10 times. You're not going to get anything to happen. But in very basic terms, when you do that, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So your body just automatically goes calm. Putting your feet on the grass outside, or the sand if you're in Dubai. Just getting outside and putting your feet and putting your hands in water, doing something that's just going to make you realize you are in the here and now, and you're really, really safe. The other thing I do personally, if I feel like I get a migraine or like a twinge in my back, I never ever reach for medication, because if you reach for medication, you mask in it. So whether it's anxiety and fear or physical pain, if you mask it, you're never going to solve it. So I usually get a piece of paper and I do a little spider diagram, and in the middle I write fear, and then all around the outside I put little arrows of what it could be, hypothetically what it could be. And I don't overthink it. I just start writing. Could it be family? Could it be job? Could it be this? And then, because it's a spider diagram, it allows your brain just to relax, and you can shoot out all these different ideas. And more often than not, as I'm writing it, I can feel the emotion coming up when I start writing the sentence of the thing that's bothering me. But it's a practice. It's like just getting good at acknowledging, like, this could be a fear, this could be a fear, this could be a fear. And once it's on the paper, it's less of a fear because it's out of your head. So does that help?
Really interesting. Yeah, it does. And I'm thinking, so that was like really good as well from a prevention perspective. What would you say? So I think, Heidi, you gave the example before of you had, what was it, a galvanized shoulder?
Calcific tendonitis in my shoulder.
That's the one.
Close.
So if someone came to you and said they had calcific tendonitis in their shoulder and physically they felt pain, what would be your kind of like 2 to 3 immediate ways to act?
Well, firstly, I'm not a doctor, so I would say, is it life-threatening? Have you had it? Is this, what did you call it? Galvanized shoulder? Is it life-threatening? In this case, we obviously know it's probably not, right? But people need the peace of mind to know it is not life-threatening. Even like my back pain, L5S1, you can see on an MRI scan there's clear damage, but is it life-threatening? No, it's not. I would ask questions like, does it come and go? Does it move around? Is it worse in the morning and then better in the evening? Does an ice pack help? Does a heat pack help? And if you answer yes to these questions, then there's a very high chance it's neuroplastic pain, which means it is your brain misfiring. Because if it is actually structural, then the pain would be the same all of the time. There would be no pain in it. But we were talking before, and you did say like it kind of came on, and then it comes and goes. So that would be the first thing. I'd do a bit of an investigation as to like, does it move around? And I would ask questions. What's going on for you right now? And you what was it? COVID was happening. You said
right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the reason I got into this work was I was already doing this work before COVID, and then COVID hit. I was living in Sri Lanka at the time, and we went onto a red list country, which means I cannot leave Sri Lanka even if I wanted to. And as soon as that announcement went out, my eye started twitching, like crazy twitching, like nobody else could see it, but my eye was going like this. And I thought, my eye is twitching because of stress. I can't do anything about this. I'm trapped on an island now. And I thought, if my eye's twitching, people all around the world are having neuroplastic pain symptoms. And I thought, I have to do this career. So COVID was a real tipping point for many, many people whose nervous systems was already quite stressed. And then that was probably the final straw, which turned it from like more of an emotional thing into a physical thing. So I've drifted off your question. What was it? Practical things that you would actually do?
Yeah, so practical. Yeah, no, that was really helpful.
But then it would just be a case of what do you? I would literally ask the question, what do you need right now? And the question is probably like, the answer is probably like, I need some time on my own. I need a hug. I need to be angry with somebody. I need to something. I need to not be doing this family holiday we're about to do. There's always going to be some answer to that question. What do I need? Because this might sound a bit woo-woo, but your shoulder's basically trying to tell you something, So that's what I would do. There is a practice I do called somatic tracking, which I do with clients. And I know that you can find this also on Insight Timer and YouTube. And it's where I get the client to focus on a sensation. So I would say to you, like, can you describe it? And you would say, it's like a ball, it's like it's hot, it's like under my shoulder blade. And as you're describing it, I would get you to relax at the same time and keep on describing it. And the more you focus on it, the more the sensation either moves or dissipates, or it might get worse. But no matter what happens, it proves it's your brain that's doing that because it's moving around. So you can do this somatic tracking from Insight Timer or YouTube. Does that help?
Or contact you. Yeah.
Or contact me. Yeah. I mean, it's actually quite hard to do it yourself because your conscious can't talk to your subconscious. So it is one of those things that's easier when somebody does it for you. But yeah, for anyone listening with chronic pain that's been suffering, has tried everything medically, please don't think it's the end of the line, because it's not. There's so many people that are getting fully recovered after they discover that it's their brain misfiring signals. So there's hope.
Yeah, it's amazing because I think when I had it, I did something basic. I remember you telling me, I think you just sort of said it anecdotally, just to focus on like go and get a cup of tea and focus on the weather or something like that, which is very British. And I remember walking down the stairs thinking, my foot hurts. And normally I'd start limping, but I was like, oh, I really want a cup of tea. Isn't it hot outside? And then I just like kept repeating it. And yeah, and then it disappeared and it stayed away. So it is amazing, but it's incredible really how many people live with chronic pain. Like, I would say, let's throw something out there, about 30% of people I know have got an ongoing issue, that's just not it's just not resolved easy. Like my mum's got frozen shoulder, which is physically frozen. I tried to get her to, I was like, what's going on for you? But she wasn't that receptive. But Aaron, my husband, has a bad back, which he admits is stress.
Yeah, but even a frozen shoulder, that is definitely, yeah, like 99% sure that is something that's neuroplastic pain. It's a reflection of like it's frozen because there's tension in the body, you know. But yeah, it's hard when someone you're close to has something and you know you can help them, but it's not going to work for everyone. So yeah.
No, I think though it's about spreading this, you know, because it's people. I mean, I'm not sure about you, Heidi, but when I first spoke to Gemma, this was like the first time I'd really heard about it, and I was like, you know, ready to have an operation, which is bizarre, given that I was able to fix it without that.
Yeah, and you know, it's so funny because I live in this world, so I see clients all the time that have pain and don't have pain, and I'm talking to other practitioners that are working with people. So like for me it's like so normal, and then I talk to people and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna have back surgery next week, and I'm like, no. But what to do
Yeah.
you know, the other thing is we use the word chronic pain a lot, but I never considered that I had chronic pain. It's not a word I even used until I became a practitioner in it. I always just assumed it would get better. Like, so for example, a lot of clients will be like, no, I don't have chronic pain. And then they're doing this. And I'm like, is there something wrong with your shoulder? And they're like, oh, yeah, it only hurts like once a month. Or like I spoke to a woman and she went, oh, I only get migraines once a month now. And I said, you get migraines once a month? And she went, oh, but that's nothing. I used to get migraines every week. And so she had decided that she's going to live with migraines once a month. And like, as if that's normal. I was like, you don't have to live with migraines once a month. This is something we can do something about, you know, but we just accept it. But I'm sure she wouldn't have considered that chronic pain. It's just the way she is, you know.
I found this fascinating, and I can already think of about 3 or 4 people that I really want to listen to this podcast, because I think it will really help them, because they have been living with the same sort of pain for ages. So I can't wait to share this with them and get them to listen in, because I think it would really, really help them. So thank you so much, Gemma. This has just been an eye-opener. I've learned so much today. I really have.
Yeah, and we've only literally just scratched the surface of this subject. It is absolutely fascinating. And if even one person listening to this goes and starts doing something they've not done for ages because they're not scared of the pain anymore, that's a win. That's a big win, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So how can people get in touch with you and find out more information about the services you offer?
So my website is my name, which is Gemma with a G, Mcfall.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm really not yet on Instagram. I keep trying, but I'm just not cool enough for it. So you'll find me on my website or on LinkedIn.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you. And do you have any final thoughts or messages that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's listening to this thinking they have either ongoing anxiety or some kind of chronic pain, or even someone, you know, that's close to them, I do have on my website, it's called a free assessment, but to be very honest, there's no definite answer at the end of it. But what it will give you is a list of personality types that are more susceptible to getting chronic pain. And it has a list of questions, like I was asking Heidi earlier, like, does your pain move around? It's got questions about your specific symptoms. And it also has questions about childhood, because if somebody had like a difficult childhood or some kind of trauma, that is also an indicator that it could cause chronic pain as an adult. So I would say that's a really, really good starting point to click on that and just read through those questions. But, you know, explore this. Like, it has literally changed my life, getting my back back. Getting my back back has changed my life. And you know that my kids now have a mum that's not stressed and grumpy. I can pick them up, I can do silly things with them, you know, and I want that for everyone. I really do. So yeah, please reach out with questions or whatever, or I'm happy to help.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been incredibly insightful, and I know our listeners will take a lot just from the podcast, and we'll obviously share your details as to where they can find you and contact you direct. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gemma.